Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Lynn Nesbitt, and I'm chairing today's panel. Joining me are Gail Anderson and Richard Whitbread. Our assessor today is Ryan Valderrama, and our administrative personnel is Sally Caulfield. We will be hearing applications for revision of the business assessment role in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act and the City of Winnipeg Charter. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I'll confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We'll then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony, followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the Board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We'll be hearing items 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7 on our docket today. Ms. Caulfield, please affirm the assessor's and applicant's testimony.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Ryan Valderrama.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Marcelo Navarro.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Before we begin, are there any preliminary issues that need to be addressed?
I don't, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro?
There might be on 941 Lindsay.
Okay, did you want to wait until we get to that
Yeah,
before we raise them?
Till we get there. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay, then we'll start with our docket item number 1. That's file number 22-4603. Mr. Valderrama, when you're ready, you may begin your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first property has a file number of 22-46, or business assessment has a file number of 22-4603. The roll year we're dealing with is 2023, and the business is located at 155 Innovation Drive. It has a business assessment ID of 33001. The total annual rental value is $3,042,960. It has a total area of 163,775 square feet, with an overall ARV per square foot of $18.58. Madam Chair, I am making a recommendation on this one.
Okay.
A rounded total of $2,630,880.
Can you repeat that number, please?
$2,630,630,880.
$2,630,880.
That's correct. That's rounded value, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. And that's a change to the square foot rate?
Yes, it is.
Okay, can you tell me what that rate is?
It's basically just gonna calculate it. It's $13.44 rounded.
Mr. Navarro, we have a recommendation for 2,630,880. Do you accept the recommendation?
We do.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread, do you have any questions regarding the recommendation? Oh, you're on mute.
Only one. We have a difference in square footage between you and the applicant, and I know we haven't heard the applicant's evidence, Mr. Navarro. Can you explain that difference? It's about 8,500 feet.
Yeah, so if you can turn to page 6 of my presentation. So in the initial real estate application, well, first of all, we calculated every square foot of this property again. We inspected the property and we valued it using cost and income. So we recognized that there was a slight discrepancy in the square footage presented by the assessor. And it doesn't work in our favor. So in terms of the square footage, we believe that the assessor was actually low on the square footage. And you can see that they're at 163,775. We calculated based on our review of the property 171,783. And in the realty, the board agreed with our presentation in terms of the square footage and in terms of the valuation of the property. So that's why there's a discrepancy in the size of the areas.
I find it interesting that Mr. Navarro's revised rate comes out exactly the same as your requested rate. So I'm wondering, Mr. Navarro, is there a need to adjust your square footage and rent based on what, or sorry, Ryan, my mistake. Your rental rate, your recommendation comes out exactly as Mr. Navarro's does.
Right.
Was there an intention to meet that rate, or I'm a little bit puzzled by how this is working.
Basically, this is the realty was valued under cost, which Mr. Navarro alluded to or indicated earlier. And so in that case, usually it's 10% of the realty value in terms of the business assessment. So plus occupancy costs, and that's how we value a business assessment, or how we assess businesses in terms of.
I'm aware of the process, Mr.
Right. So in terms of, sorry, Mr. Whitbread, what is it?
I lost that last part. What did you say?
Can you repeat your question, Mr. Whitbread?
Yes. I say your recommended value comes out to the penny to what Mr. Navarro's I'm aware of the request is. And you've come up with, I think you said a $13.44 rental rate to achieve that on your square footage.
Right. That's
Given
right.
his evidence just now, do you need to adjust your square footage? And do you need to adjust your rental rate if you want that value? I'm puzzled by this process a bit. I understand how you calculate the value, but do you need to make any adjustments to yours?
Well, in terms of the area, if there would be any submission or evidence or any floor plans will be submitted to our department, then we can adjust our square footage on that one. Yeah, I would just stick with our premise area for now on this matter. That's why it's just a straight math. What I did was a straight math, and I came up with the square footage rate, rental rate that I have indicated or I have stated earlier.
Now, I'm not trying to be contradictory, but I believe I heard Mr. Navarro present evidence that there was an understanding by the realty department or through a realty assessment by your department that the 171,783 was accurate. Mr. Navarro, can you confirm that?
I don't think the assessment department actually agreed with us, but we we did present it in our evidence, and the board decided to side with us. I believe our area is based more so on a gross area. And I don't know the deductions that the assessor is making in these cases, but for industrial properties of this type with one occupant, we would typically go with a gross area anyways. So there was a misunderstanding as to how there were deductions on the gross area. I mean, I don't know how Mr. Valderrama wants to do it, if he wants to base it on their square footage in our ARV. It's fine by me, but yeah, we're still sticking with our interpretation of the area that we calculated.
Yeah, and that interpretation is not good enough for you, Mr. Valderrama?
Again, it's more of floor plans and all that that we needed, and so any other evidence, if you have any, then it would be submitted to the department. We'll have to review it, and then we'll have to, if we need it, we have to go and inspect the property and go measure or see for ourselves.
Right. So how did you pick this $13.44 rent such that it arrived precisely at the value that Mr. Navarro has?
Again, as I've mentioned, it's from the realty 2023 realty assessment of $22,014,000, and then it's 10% of it. And then I did the math using our square footage.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Whitbread. Ms. Anderson, do you have any questions with respect to the recommendation?
No, they've been asked and answered. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have no questions either. So that concludes item number 1. Item number 2 on our agenda is file number 22-4509. Mr. Valderrama, when you're ready, you may begin with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to clarify if the requested amount is the same as the business assessment, and if the applicant is seeking for confirmation on this one.
Well, perhaps you can read in the information first and give us that value, and we'll ask Mr. Navarro to then respond.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So the next business assessment has a file number of 22-4509. The roll year we're dealing with is 2023. The business is located at 4000 Portage Avenue. The business assessment ID is 4889. The total annual rental value for the business is $307,920. It has a total area of 25,052 square feet and an overall ARV per square foot of $12.29. Madam Chair, as earlier I asked a question if the applicant is intending to request for confirmation on this one.
Okay, Mr. Navarro?
That is correct. We are seeking a confirmation on it.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Anderson, do you have any questions regarding this matter on the docket?
I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Whitbread?
I have none. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes item 2. And now move to item 3 on our docket. Again, Mr. Valderrama, you can begin with file number 22-4167, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the next file has a file number of 22-4167. We're dealing with the roll year of 2023. The business is located at 1897 Henderson Highway. The business assessment ID is 1822. The business has a total annual rental value of $155,520, has a total area of 11,854 square feet, and an overall ARV per square foot of about $13.12. Again, I'd just like to ask the applicant if he intends to request for a confirmation on this matter.
Mr. Navarro. Oh, thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Whitbread, do you have any questions regarding this item?
I have none, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6 on our agenda. File number 22-4500. Mr. Valderrama?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the next file has a file number of 22-4500. We're dealing with the roll year of 2023, and the business is located at 921 Elmhurst Road. There's a business assessment ID of 27852. The total annual rental value is $44,100. It has a total area of about 3,200 square feet and an overall ARV per square foot of about $13.78. Just like to ask, what's the intention of the applicant on this matter? As I have not received any submission for this one.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro?
Well, you should have received a brief that was submitted the day of the submission, and we followed it up with a correction, although the clerk's office said that we would need to ask that it be submitted as a what do you call it, a rebuttal. I don't think it actually meets the criteria of a rebuttal, actually. I think it was simply.
We're at 921 Elmhurst.
Oh, 921 Elmhurst. No, we are asking for a confirmation. My brain is off.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Navarro.
I can explain that one as I'm half asleep still. And 921 Elmhurst was it actually went below the ARV threshold. So we were simply waiting for the owner to agree to a withdrawal. So we didn't get it in time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Whitbread, do you have any questions regarding 921 Elmhurst?
I don't. Thank you.
Ms. Anderson?
No, I don't have any questions,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. That concludes item 6. Okay, so now we're on item 7, 941, Lindsay. I believe, Mr. Navarro, you indicated you had a preliminary issue. Perhaps we'll, do we need to discuss it before the property is introduced, or we introduce the property and then you can raise your concerns?
I think we should probably discuss it beforehand.
Okay.
So we were not aware of the valuation method that the assessor was using on this property, because to us, this is a cost property. And when we got the ARV back, or the report back from the assessor, we noticed that it seems like it's actually being valued as an income property. So it confused us. So we had to submit something afterward. Now we submitted cost documents. We valued the property the two buildings that are in question on cost, and you can see them on page 17 and 18. But again, we were a little bit confused as to how the property was being valued in the first place. And I think that the assessor actually went with an income approach on the two buildings, or the three, or actually, I don't even know how many buildings are being included in this property, but we've included two buildings, and that was submitted as kind of an addition or a correction to the original document that we submitted. The clerk's office said that we had to actually call it a rebuttal. I don't know what you want to refer it as. I don't think it meets the standard of a rebuttal. I think this is more so a correction to the original valuation, which, you know, we have some cost information on here on the buildings that we valued. But again, as I've said, I think that the assessor is valuing these buildings using the income approach. And I think the assessor maybe can better answer that, because I'm still not 100% sure.
Madam Chair, would you like me to distribute the document that Mr. Navarro is referring to?
Yeah, you can do that, but in the meantime, let's also hear from Mr. Valderrama.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is about a cost property. Correct. That's correct, and it's being valued 10% plus of the realty plus the occupancy costs of about $23,236.
And is that a typical practice to value cost properties on an income basis for business assessment purposes?
Usually, it's the economic 10% of the realty. That's how we value business assessment for cost properties.
I appreciate that, but would cost properties, which are typically, you know, special use type properties that don't have any comparisons in the market, are they typically valued in a business assessment?
Yes, they are still being valued and being assessed for business.
Was this property valued for business assessment purposes last year?
I believe so. I'm just not I don't remember if I have done this, but check one system here if it was. Previous assessment, it wasn't the BA wasn't appealed. The last time it was appealed was 2017, and it was withdrawn.
So there was a BA issued last year?
Last assessment cycle, there was none that was filed according to a system that I just opened up.
No, but there was a BA. There was a BA
yes,
assessment issued?
There is. Oh, there was, sorry.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay, I'm still somewhat confused about this, because if Mr. Valderrama can confirm that this is the property that is associated with the realty role for 963 Lindsay.
Can you confirm that, Mr. Valderrama?
Which one? Which property is that?
Okay, the one that we're dealing with right now, which is 901 Lindsay, business assessment ID 21676. Is that the is this associated with 963 Lindsay?
963 Lindsay. Just pull up 941 Lindsay for now. Let's see if Let's see. Uh, $63. Let's see. Not pulling up the 951 Lindsay. Let's check 963 here. Oops. That's three. It's coming up as 963, and if I pull up 941, I don't see
Yeah, there is no civic address on the realty for
none.
941 Lindsay. It is associated with 963 Lindsay. So you can see why I'm confused about this whole process. Can you not? Because if you see the assessment for 963 Lindsay, it is 5,280,000.
Right.
So if you took 10% of that, you would be looking at about 520,000, something around that in terms of an ARV. So I in my head, I assumed that couldn't be correct, that you guys were simply using an income approach for the buildings. So I don't know if you can clarify what's been done here, because I do not understand the way that you have valued and calculated the ARV. So I don't know if you can provide some clarification here.
To me, that's how we typically do cost properties. Since this one is way below what should have been, it's been valued that way, and it appears that it's even way below some market rents.
If we were taking 10% of the economic value, we would be looking at a realty value of about $1 million or so, give or take some occupancy costs away.
500,000, probably around 500,000 annual rental value on this one.
Okay, so what exactly has been done here then? Is this a mistake?
I'm not too sure. For all I know, it's 10% of it should have been 10%. It should have been 500,000, but when this it's 106,000, so I'm not sure. Let me just double check on one more here. Oops. Just see one more here. I'm still. Nope, it's not income. It's there's nothing. It's usually 10% of the realty value, but I'm not sure with this one. The base ARV is giving me $7.73, which is way well within the market, but it's not
Okay,
within the 10%.
Perhaps let's recess a little for a few minutes.
Yeah.
So Ryan, you can take a look into this property a bit more. We're going to just get some advice on this, and we will resume shortly. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. So we are now going to introduce property number 7 on our docket. That's 22-4339. So Mr. Valderrama, when you're ready, you may introduce your submission, and then we can start dealing with some of the issues that have been raised about the valuation of this property. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the 7th property or 7th business assessment has a file number of 22-4339. The roll year is 2023. The address is 941 Lindsay Street. It has a business assessment ID of 21676. The total annual rental value is $129,540. The total area is 13,752 square feet. And an overall ARV of about $9.42, including occupancy costs. So I do have the occupancy costs in here. We applied all the occupancy costs on 11,199 square feet for the heat and electricity. For water, we only applied 3,263 square feet. And for air conditioning, we only applied the occupancy cost for air conditioning on 3,263 square feet. So the total occupancy costs is about $23,236, and the annual rental value is $129,540 rounded. So I do have indicated some rental comparables around the area. These are all ranging from $7 up to $9.49 per square foot. That's the business assessment for business ID 21676, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Valderrama. Mr. Navarro, do you have any questions?
I do. I'm not going to get into the issue of how this was valued, Mr. Valderrama. As I stated before, I'm still kind of confused. However, what I can ask you right now pertains to your premise area of 13,752 square feet. Now, that includes the other buildings that are on the separate roll number, which actually have been included in this roll number. So can you give me an explanation as to, and I'm talking about I believe that you call them in the cost side on the realty, the liquid sugar loading facility. This is actually corn syrup loading facility, which are actually on a different realty roll number altogether. When I did my inspection of this facility on Friday, we couldn't actually go on that site because they told us, well, that's Archer Daniels Midland, that's not us. So second of all, I believe you're off on the square footage. So I've become even more confused now. Can you answer exactly what buildings you have included in this valuation?
Based on our records, it's a total area of about 13,752 square feet, and that's our records so far. So if there's any update or any corrections needed, amendment needed to be done, then I think we can take a look at documentation regarding those things, regarding whatever the buildings that are included in this roll number. However, so far this is based on our records.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Ms. Anderson, do you have any questions?
Yes, a couple of questions. So again, just to build on the question around the area, So the premise area, you've got 13,752 square feet, Ryan, but then under the occupancy, you have 11,199 square feet. So I'm trying to understand why there's the discrepancy there.
Yeah, for occupancy cost, typically some buildings that I've seen in around the city don't fully heat or electrify their buildings, or even put water in some of their buildings, or air conditioning. Most likely they're being used for just storage purposes, so they don't need any water or air conditioning, or whatever purpose that the building might have, or the business might have for those buildings. So they don't necessarily have 100% water, air conditioning, electricity, and heat in some of the industrial properties that I've seen around the city.
Okay, so the difference between these two areas is like 2,553 square feet. So is there a specific building that relates to on the?
I would say there would be. I just don't have the information on which building, but I would say there would be some buildings, not just one.
Okay. So then in regards to the rental comparisons that you have, Ryan, are those properties, the type of business similar in that there's multiple buildings on those properties?
I don't have any further information with regard to how many buildings that are in the premises or the addresses. However, it looks like these are single building properties. I'm not just 100% sure if they are. As I don't
Are
have
they
the
similar
information.
type business?
Similar type. These are all industrial use around the area.
Around the area. Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
Maybe I can come back to a question that was asked but not answered, I think. How many buildings are on this property at Lindsay Street, Ryan?
Based on our file, there are around 6.
6 buildings. But you show no photos of these buildings, I guess, do you, in your evidence?
No, I have no photos.
Okay. Have you visited the property and the buildings, the 6 buildings?
No, I did not.
So it's very difficult for you to offer evidence as to the 2,553 square foot discrepancy between 11,199 and 13,752. You're unable to provide accurate evidence.
No, I don't have that in my evidence. No.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay, and I also have questions going back to your rent comparables. So you indicated that these were in the area. Do you consider Soto Crescent in the area of Lindsay Street?
These are all within market regions, so it's kind of these are, if we look at all the addresses here, they're all lumped in the same, almost the same area. So and if I look at the what do you call this, Lindsay Street, it's just probably close to closest to, let me just check. These are all south, just immediate south, almost of Lindsay. These premise or the addresses, the comparables that I have here.
Soto, is that located in the Polo Park area?
Soto is in the west. So the others, like Lawson Crescent, Chevier Boulevard, Scarfield, they're all
so they're more in that
south, more in the area
Fort Garry Industrial Park area, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Correct.
Lawson, I think is just off Kenniston.
Right.
By IKEA.
The other side.
The other side of Kenniston, the south side. East side? I have no idea. North side.
East
I have no idea.
East of Kenniston.
Yeah. Okay, so can you just talk to me about the nature of what the buildings are used for on 941 Lindsay on our business roll? What are they used for?
Other than industrial use, I have no information on what they're being used for.
When you say industrial use, what do you mean?
Probably more on the storage warehouse type.
Okay, so your rent comparable on Lawson Crescent, that's a flooring store, correct?
I'm not sure. No, I don't know.
Did you pick these rent comparables, or does the model
Yes.
pick it, or okay?
I did.
So how did you pick them? I note that the square footage sort of, there's only one that's relatively close, the one on Lawson, the flooring store, but other ones are 9,000 square feet, 30. Does that, those are quite.
Yeah, I tried to really get the closest area.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just so it's difficult to really look for exactly or almost bang on the 13,000 square feet.
No, for sure. And I
Mhm.
appreciate that it's difficult. Okay. Can you tell me what 15 Squarefield is used for?
No, I wouldn't be able to without the further information on this one.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. And then I have no additional questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Navarro.
Okay, so this is 941 Lindsay Street. You can see the specifics that we have on the property there on page 2. The current annual rental value is $129,540. And you can see the picture of the two buildings that we've assessed or we've valued in our valuation. If you turn to page 4, you can have a look at the property description. And again, this is on the corner of Lindsay Street. It would be the northwest corner of Lindsay Street and Taylor Avenue. And so there is a building there that was constructed in 1957 and an office building that was constructed in 1972. Now, I was able to walk through this building with a person from BNSF Railway. And he took me through both properties. So the understanding that he conveyed to me was that the first building, the larger building, which is the train house, which says built in 1957. He said that was actually deconstructed and actually constructed on site in 1957. But he said it was a former World War II airplane hangar. So it is older than 1957. Now the office structure is a masonry building constructed in 1972. It's had slight refreshes done to it sometime in the 1990s. I would say probably early 1990s. And later refreshes of the washroom and lunchroom. In terms of the building mechanicals, they are original. There are some newer plumbing fixtures, and in terms of windows, they are the original aluminum windows. In terms of the roof, likely resurfaced in the last decade. So it's had the normal repair and maintenance done to it, but in terms of an office, it's definitely not a modern office building. It's a site office for an industrial property. And you would see these site offices in a lot of industrial properties where there are large industries. You'll see a single site office, usually not built to modern office building standards, but we unfortunately have to call it an office building. In terms of the other buildings that are there, on site, when we did our inspection, we tried going into what was called the corn syrup loading area. And there are 3 buildings associated with that area. However, the person who was giving us the tour from BNSF Railway said, well, we can't go in there because that's actually not us. That's Archer Daniels Midland, ADM. Now you can see the site on page 6, and you can see the buildings that are in question. So the one with the red teardrop, those are our 2 buildings. The other buildings are, you can see the roll split there, and this is taken from the realty. So the other buildings are actually on a different row, and those are associated with 1585 Taylor Avenue. So they're not even associated with 963 Lindsay Avenue, which I stated earlier was the realty that is associated with this business assessment roll number. I don't know why we have 941 Lindsay and 963 Lindsay when we are essentially talking about the same property. There is a difference in terms of the civic address on the business assessment versus the realty, but those 2 properties are the same property, 963 Lindsay and 941 Lindsay. The other property beside it to the west, directly adjacent, is 1585 Taylor, and that is where those buildings are located. So you can see the buildings that are located on 1585 Taylor on page 7. You can see that there are 2 buildings on the north and the south side of them, and the loading facility, which is the corn syrup loading facility. On page 8, if you turn over there, you can see a better split of the property where I panned in. And you can see partially that those properties are mostly inside 1585 Taylor Avenue. Now, below that, to the left, is the rail or the train house. Now, I'll just ask you to turn to the appendix, starting on page 11. So we use 344 office building. This is taken from Marshall Swift. This is the criteria that's used to build up an office building when you use Marshall Swift. And you can look at the specific property and gauge it based on the quality types, and then assign an appropriate age life cycle to it. And depending on the type of quality class, so you have several different quality classes: Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, Class S. That actually pertains to the type of construction. So in this case, we have a masonry style building, which is a Class C. So that's how I picked that category out. And again, it works the same way for the 406, which is a storage facility. Again, you pick the appropriate quality, and then you pick the appropriate typical life. And then you pick the quality, which is what is this constructed out of, how is it made? You can see our valuations on page 17 and 18 for the storage warehouse and the office building. And basically, they amount to about $114,083. That is using the cost. So if we were using the economic approach, we would only take 10% of that, which is about $14,083 total. On page 19, you can see the engine house. You can see on page 20, the outside picture, BNSF, and the inside, which is, again, taken on Friday, and you can see a rail car there. what this facility is essentially used for is essentially just to keep the engine warm during those cold periods. So what they do is they essentially back it up into this facility and just let it sit there and, you know, maintain a proper temperature. You can see on page 23, the office area. You can call it an office area. There's not much to it, and it was very old. On page 24, you can see the asbestos warning. I don't know if you can actually see this, but if you turn to page 23, you can see that green John Deere loader there. And right to the right of that is the walls. And those panels there, there's some wooden panels, and then there's some areas that are exposed. All of those are asbestos panels. They've never been changed. They're open for the most part. There is some areas that are covered by wood, but for the most part, this area is open. It's got asbestos everywhere. It's got asbestos warnings everywhere. And I just happened to have taken a picture of, you know, one of the warnings in that location. So a lot of modern facilities don't have asbestos warnings. I thought I would just put that in there. And in terms of the office building, you can see the picture there on page 25. Again, the office was renovated sometime in the early 90s, according to the employee. And on page 26, you can see again the office layout. 27, as I mentioned, the washrooms had been updated, as well as the lunchroom. On page 28, you can see a fountain, which you don't see very often anymore. And on page 29, you can see the original mechanicals, which haven't been updated. Those are the originals. A picture of the outside, you can see the masonry walls. And on page 31, I thought I would just point out again, the aluminum windows that you rarely see anymore. And that is a fairly good I guess review of my inspection. Now, in terms of how I valued this property, I used the two buildings that are there, which add up to 11,199 square feet. Now, if you add up the other buildings that are on that different roll assigned to 1585 Taylor, you will get $13,752 for 13,752 square feet. But we looked at the buildings that we were told are part of BNSF. And as I mentioned in my board or review here, that, you know, the pictures, you can see clearly that the other buildings are on a different roll number altogether, realty roll number. So we've looked at two buildings, an office building and a train house. And we've assigned a $7.50 rent to the office building. These rents are obviously coming from different areas of the city. These would be office industrial rents. And we've come to a rent of $7.50 for the office area. Now, for the train house or the industrial building, whatever we want to call it, a storage warehouse, we have 7,936 square feet. We've assigned a rent of $4.50 per square foot on it. That gives us a base rent of $35,712. The other building gives us a base rent of $24,472. If you turn over to that, you can see the ARV calculation. Again, we have a premise area of 11,199 square feet, giving us a net rent of $60,139. And then again, that is just the addition of the two areas. In terms of the occupancy costs, we've added 1,199 square feet for heat. hydro 11,199 square feet, hydro 11,199 square feet, water 11,199 square feet. Again, during my inspection, I asked them, does the train house have water? Yes, we often have to spray down the cars or the train engine. So we do need water, pressurized water, to actually hose it down. So there is water in that location. Now that location doesn't have AC, so that is correct. So we only used 3,263 square feet associated with the office building. The total ARV is $85,359, rounded to $85,380. And that is my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Valderrama, do you have any questions?
I have none, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Whitbread.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions. Thank you for your presentation and for your inspection of the property.
Thank you. And I have no questions either. So I think that now we've heard all the items on our docket today, and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Valderrama and Mr. Navarro.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good
You
day.
too.
Bye.